Good afternoon guys, and welcome back to another episode of Rift Amps. Right, here we go then. Americana LP build. Yep. That's what we're doing here. We've had the board done for a while. So I've just finished marking up the chassis. So we need to start populating it. I've already marked the board mounting holes, drilled those. That one and that one. So I'll be able to get the board in. We need to get all of the sockets and stuff in as well. And then the transformers to boot. Right, sorry, I was just having a bit of another brain fart. I just realised this is going to North America, so we need to use a different power transformer. Thankfully, I have one on the shelf, so yeah, all good. But I just had that little panic moment where you think, oh God, I've got the wrong one in. But no, we're all good, we're fine. So first job is to get my board mounts in. And as you know, to stop rattling, we always Loctite them in place. Plexi 18, the head cabinet has finally turned up. So I'm just drilling it for the chassis. So got our template chassis in, and I found our centre point, so those line up. And to get the front to back, make sure you have your faceplate in as well, just to give you that spacing. So otherwise you'll end up having the chassis too far forward. I'm just going to mark the holes. And then I could draw those, flip it over, do the others, get the handle and the feet on, and then get the amplifier itself in the cabinet and get it shipped off to the customer. So I'll show you that when it's all done, and I'll try and do you some sound samples as well. Okay, Fender Hot Rod Deluxe. You'll remember this one came in last week. Customer complaint is that by its own accord it will just change channels and switch. So we need to investigate that. I've taken the back cover off, as you can see. We're just giving it a quick visual inspection. Now he did, when he originally emailed me about this amplifier, said that he'd noticed some burning marks around these two resistors and this diode, which we can clearly see is the case. Now let's have a look and see if we can't see anything else that looks a bit suspicious. There we go, R97, which is this one here. It's also got some burn marks. So when I get the schematic, I need to look at R97, I need to look at R78 and R79 and D13, that diode there. That's clearly where we've got some heat damage. The IC capacitors, quite common mod is to swap those out if they're leaking, but I don't see any signs of bulging or leaking on them at the moment. So I whether they've been replaced before or not, I don't know. But I certainly don't see an issue with them, although we haven't listened to the amplifier yet. So my next stage is to turn the amplifier on, get it up to temperature and see if the channel switching issue occurs. So we need to confirm the customer complaint first of all, then we can start looking at a fix for it. Okay, so amplifier is on, as you can see, and it's currently in one channel mode. You can see that this indicator is illuminated, and it doesn't matter which button I select, it stays in a channel on its own. So that's a huge clue as to what's going on, in that now it's stuck in a channel, and at some point he tells me it's going to decide to switch to the other channel. Right, so I'm just messing around with it. It's been on for about an hour at this point. I've managed to get the channel to switch back to normal mode, and if I now hit the channel switch, you can see we can go from off to yellow and back to off again, and I can use the more drive switch to go from yellow channel to red channel. Okay, back on the Hot Rod Deluxe, just want to show you the resistors in question. So if we zoom in, hopefully this is all in focus, but here's the foot switch itself, which is going to need cleaning. It's got 4 terminals, it's got a ground, it's got pins 1, 2 and 4. Hopefully you can see all that. And that then activates either the channel select or the more drive select. So channel select goes from off to yellow, and then from more drive is yellow to red. R97 is that 1K2 2-watt resistor coming from the 39 volt AC supply. So that one's got hot, but that usually isn't the cause of the problem itself. We actually look over, come all the way down to our channel switching relay. Here's the plus 16 minus 16 volt supply for the switching relays and whatnot. 2 high voltage Zeners, 1N5353Bs, they're 5 watt Zeners, and here are the two, R78 and R79. They are 470 ohm 5 watt resistors, and those are those white ceramic resistors that you could see on the board that got hot. Now, whenever you've got a channel switching problem on a Hot Rod Deluxe, it's usually a case that these resistors have got so hot that they've either gone open, which means they've broken internally, or they've got so hot that they've damaged some of the traces around. So when you measure, you might have plus 16 and not have the minus 16, or vice versa. Here's the 2 filter caps for those. The kitchen sink mod is to replace all of this, but looking, what I can see, well, from the outside, it doesn't look as though the damage is too much. So we've got to pull the board anyway. We're definitely going to be replacing the 470 ohm 5 watt resistors, and we're going to mount those further away from the board so they don't do any more damage to it. And then we'll just inspect and see if there's anything that gives us cause for concern. That means we'll have to replace some other components. Okay, board is dropped out. I've managed to do it without removing the chassis from the cabinet, and thankfully there are no damage traces on the other side, just some heat marks. So this repair is going to be nice and quick. I haven't got to repair any traces. Let's get those 2 large resistors out and this one over here, get them swapped, and then we can get it back together and tested. Okay, all back together, new resistors in place. I didn't actually have a 1K2 2 watt in stock, so all I've done is I've just pulled that off slightly away from the board. It still measures bang on where it needs to be. So anyway, channel select, light is off, hit the switch, sorry, it goes to yellow, hit the drive more, goes to red, off, off, and we'll just check from red mode directly off. So I think that's all good. I'm going to leave it to soak test. I need to check the bias. I've also reset it for 240 volts. That helps lower the voltage, which is the voltage is inside the amp. Because as you can see, today's wall voltage is 241 volts. So when it was set for 230, and you put 240 into it, all of the internal voltages increase. Therefore it's running hotter and harder, which is not what we want. So we'll leave that running for a bit. Just want to get everything up to temperature. Then we can check operation again, check that it's still doing what we want it to do. And then once I'm happy with that, we can then give it a service. I've got to sort the reverb tank out, just go through the rest of it, but I think we have fixed the channel switching issue. So just to give you an idea of how hot those resistors actually get, here's my infrared heat gun, and we're getting over 100 degrees, 113 there I think was peak, 115, 118. Those resistors get very, very hot, which is why they need to be away from the board. Can we get a reading on that one up there? 30 odd, something like that. Put these over here. There you go, 117 degrees Celsius. Okay, amp is all done, soak test complete, all fixed. I had to pull the board again because I noticed that if I were to press around here in certain places, it would switch channels. So I just had this apart, I resoldered all the joints on the back of the foot switch and checked anything else around here. All seems to be okay. Amp's been running on the bench now for a couple of hours. It's nice and hot. Doesn't switch channels unless you want it to. So I'm going to call that complete. Screw down his reverb tank. Check the bias and set that. It's all running fine. So yeah, back panel on, knobs back on, and then customer can take that away. Okay, so this one appears to be fixed. I've gone through and placed all of the plate load resistors for the phase inverter V2 and V1. It's a common problem that they can fail and go noisy and then start to cause issues like we were hearing. So I've just given it a soak test for a couple of hours, so it's nice and hot. Just given it a play test and the noise has disappeared. So we'll give it another hour or so, and then if it stays quiet we can call that completed. But just comparing this to the other one, we look at the channel switching. Light is off, yellow channel. Tell you what, let's just turn the yellow channel on, and then more gives you the red. And if I do the chopstick in the foot switch hole, you can see that changes. So that's correct operation. The black amplifier is repaired and working properly, and so is this one. Well, I've messed up. Okay, so working on this Hawker build. Here's the phase inverter, here's the output valves, here's the phase inverter circuitry. Do we see a problem? I think I need to move I need to swap the filter caps, the filter stack for the over this way. Swap these with that. That's going to put the components for the phase inverter closer to it, which is where I want it. And it means I can put the filter caps closer to the power section where I want them. Is there anything I can do otherwise? I mean, I still wanted the preamp. See, these two feed the preamp valve, so I still want those. I wanted those closer, but actually maybe not. Yeah, I think I have to make a new board up, aren't I? Damn! I think I have to make a new board up. Swap those with those. That's at least going to give me a better layout. Oh, damn. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to make a new board. Right, let's crack on. Thankfully, on DIY LC, which is the drawing program I use. It's quite easy to do. Move those over, select all of those, move those in. Now what can we do? What I also can do while I'm at it is the output valves are cathode biased, and ideally I would like to have I was going to have the cathode bias resistors and the bypass caps on a satellite board, but actually if I'm making a new board up, let's get them on there. So let's make it a 12-inch board. Shift all of those over there. Now, as they are high wattage, I'm using one per output valve, so I'm splitting them. And then we need, this is just for sizing. Something like that. We could get away with an 11.1, so we need a board that's 1 inch longer. 11.1. No. 11.2. I think what I'll do is I'll print this out and then we can put it in the chassis and print it out in 1:1 scale, and then we can stick it in the chassis and see what it actually looks like. Right, that's much better. So we've got our preamps, phase inverter valve, phase inverter circuitry, onboard filter caps. These are the output valves, cathode bias resistors. Much better. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, so make a new board up, try and scavenge as many components as I can, and get this going. Right, so new board is done, and I'm just into the chassis. Mounting point's done, and as you can see, our phase inverter circuit is now as close to the valve as we can get it, which is a good thing. So we've got the cathode networks for the output valves as well, so that's good. I can crack on with this build now and start making progress. Okay, so I'm just doing some chassis prep. This is a PR6 that we're doing for a chap in the UK. It's going to have a mid control. As you know, PRs normally have just a treble and bass. Well, he wants a mid control in this as well, which means we have to add an extra hole on the front panel. And so now you'll have volume, treble, middle bass, reverb, tremolo speed, tremolo depth. But obviously it pushes those pots that way. These mounting holes here are for the standard style bias board. And if you offer that up there, it's incredibly close. And you've got about 50 volts DC there, very close to that pot. So we don't like that. So we make up a mini bias board that's going to sit there, clears the pot. So all I've got to do now is just going to use the original hole there. I'm going to drill and clean up a second mounting hole, and then I can populate that board, and then that's job done. For this PR6, I've already done the main board mounting holes and the IEC socket in the back. and our safety earth hole as well. So just waiting on the transformers so I can finish any chassis prep for those. Sometimes the spacing is slightly different. It always changes, I don't know why, but it is. So you just check and measure them, never assume. And then we can make progress on this PR6. Now this one, I've actually jumped quite a bit ahead in the queue, only because I've got most of the parts here for this. This one's not due for a while, but whilst I'm waiting on parts for other amps and bits and pieces, may as well make progress on the next thing I can, which is this. So what have we actually got in build at the moment? Well, I've got this PR6 black panel. I've got this low powered Americana. I think I showed you this one the other week. I've got an Ace Lister head that's complete. We're just waiting on the cabinet. That should be here this week. I've got this Hawker that we were talking about the other day, and there was one more. Oh yeah, the other Ace Lister here. So we've got quite a few builds on the go. But yeah, I can't actually get to the end of any build at the moment. I'm always waiting on something, which has been the story of my life for the last 2 years, to be honest. Never get something out the door when you want, because there's always a delay on something. But at least we're doing something, making progress on those. So yeah, keep cracking on. Right, transformers are in. Sockets are in. All hardware is in. So now I can start my chassis wiring, adding bits to sockets, bits and pieces, make some progress on this whilst I still wait for other bits to arrive. On this one, I'm trying a different brand of power transformer. It's actually going to give me some slightly kind of voltages, I think. That's the way I want to put it. This is a PR6, so we're not going for full power on this, so I can try different things. So we're just going to give it a go, see how it sounds, see how it performs. Okay, so a little bit of bad news. We shipped the Plexi 18 out last week. Customer phoned to say it arrived safely and was sounding fantastic. Sounded great. He was really happy with it. He then called me the following day and said it started to make a weird noise. And what did he want me? What did I want him to do? I said, well, I'm really sorry, of course. I hate it when stuff like this happens. It's probably a valve problem, let's be honest. New modern valves, even though they are very good, you do get failures. Sometimes these things will last a couple of years. Sometimes they only last, a couple of days before they get noisy, depending on the amp and things like that. It just happens. So over the phone he said we try swapping some of the valves around, see if we can locate in the amp which one it is. We kind of struggled with that, and I said, let's just get the amplifier back, and then I can have a look at it and make sure it's all okay. It is annoying because we soak test the amplifiers for hours and hours and hours, and we get them screaming hot, and we really stress test them to make sure that they're running fine. And then sod's law arrives at the other end, a valve goes down. What are you going to do? Right, so anyway, it has arrived back. It's not that I don't trust my customers, but there are things I do when I'm putting amplifiers together, so I know if someone's messed around with them. Thankfully that's not the case here, so I know no one's been inside it that shouldn't have been. It has happened in the past, so you have to be careful, but there's things that I do so I know when someone else has been inside it and messed around. So the amplifier arrived, we stuck it on the bench, fired it up, no problem whatsoever. There's no issue, there's no weird noise, there's nothing going on. I cannot fault find this amplifier. It performs beautifully. None of the valves are noisy. None of the wires are microphonic, nothing. There's nothing going on with this amplifier whatsoever. Now, do we believe the customer? Well, of course we do. You know, if he says there was a noise on the phone, in fact, he held the phone up to the speaker of his cabinet, and I could hear there was a noise. So what could it be? If this chassis and amplifier is performing correctly, what else could it be? Well, you know, is it his guitar cable? Is it his speaker cable that he's using? Is it, you know, modern interference in the house? Who knows? But I'm now in a situation where this amplifier is performing great, isn't a problem, but there is potentially an issue at his end that we need to sort, and that's kind of an awkward conversation to have. So the only thing I can really do is keep testing this, be 100% sure that it's, you know, one of the valves doesn't go noisy after a certain amount of time, you know, when we're going to get super hot or something like that. It's not that maybe it's a vibration issue, so maybe we need to test it on a speaker cabinet and get some vibration going through it, things like that. But I need to do everything I can to make sure that this amplifier is sorted and is not the issue, and then we can, you know, try and diagnose where it is. But apart from that, yeah, this is all good. So it's frustrating because it cost me two more lots of shipping, you know, having to pay to get the amplifier shipped to him in the first place, then it comes back because he says there's an issue with it, you know, which is done under warranty. And then, you know, once I've confirmed that this is either fixed or there's no fault with it, I've got to pay to ship it back to him. So, you know, that costs you extra money, which is, which unfortunately, you know, that's part of the game. What are you going to do? So I've just got to, you know, like I said, I'll just make sure there's absolutely nothing wrong with this, and then we'll take it from there. Moving on, PR6 build. I've started doing the board wiring. So I did all the twisties on top, and I've got to add my flying leads underneath, and then we can. And what else did I do? Oh yeah, I've started wiring in. They'll do some of the chassis wiring bits and pieces like that. So yeah, there we go. But yeah, frustrating. Well, that's it then, guys. Thank you very much for watching. As you can see, it's extremely busy here, so I am trying to crack on, get stuff done. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I shall see you all in the next one.